Sovereignty in partnership. Sean, do you want to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So one of the most challenging things that we experience, we've talked about basically throughout this whole thing, is sovereignty and the egoic part of us that feels it is the sovereign being. So there's a misperception that happens usually in almost all spiritual advancement, where the person goes, oh, they realize that their divinity here, right? They realize that they're a vessel for divinity. They start to take the human or identity self that the egoic self has made and say, I am the creator. Like, I'm the entirety of the creator and I decide what I'm doing. I am the end all be all of my life, the controller of the experience in a way. So we start to think, and even if we don't, that's like sort of the extreme of it. Like, I am God. That's when we say that we are divinity. It's not quite that way. It is that way, but it's only that way once we've surrendered everything to divinity. It's divinity itself that is the sovereign being, not the human vessel. The human vessel has free will to a degree, but the free will is a veiling. It doesn't understand really what it's doing to most degrees. The higher self knows exactly what's going on and is sort of making sure that the path gets followed by just presenting situations to the human in ways that manifest in the exact appropriate way so that they can kind of return to themselves. But what the biggest issue that we run into in these types of relationships, it's not even an issue. It's the opportunity or the gift, is noticing that I really want things to be this way and they're not doing that. And now how do we navigate that? If my reality is not what I decided it to be and I'm the creator, then what's going on? Right? So we have to notice, oh, it's because I'm not the I that I think I am. I'm not the name Sean. I'm not this body. I'm divinity and beyond this, all of this. And the human aspect doesn't see the plan so much. They get glimpses and stuff, ideas, visions, but they can't see the purity or wholeness of the experience because of the veiling. And so the ego actually constantly claims itself as God, basically, which is what convinces us to follow its directives. Like, I know what's best for my partner, for example. I've seen, maybe I've learned a lesson, and in my lesson, I've determined that this pathway is best, or maybe this diet, let's say. I've realized that this particular diet is the best diet. So I'm going to go to my partner and say, hey, babe, I'm not saying anything, but you should go on this diet. I'm not saying you're fat, but you should go on this diet, right? Like, or something like this, right? Something that's kind of like rude, but we tend to mean well by it. We're trying to help, but we're pushing against we're not letting their higher guidance discern for them what's the best. We're kind of trying to direct them, and we're saying something that's hurtful. We're asking them to change into something else. We're pushing against them. And so we'll do this back and forth. Or if Tassel is in some fear or something, or if I'm in some fear, one of us might say, I think you're in fear right now. Or maybe we'll say, I think you're in a story, or we'll sort of act like it's not okay, or there's something wrong with it because we don't really like it, right? So instead of approaching things from, I don't like this, we should put it into order, what we're doing is shifting it. And we're just taking we're still going to look at our side and what we prefer, but first we're going to respect their sovereignty. And we're going to say, I see your divinity before mine in this situation. And I'm going to say, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if this will ever change. I accept whatever happens. I don't know what's best for my partner. I don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it, or how they feel about it. So I'm going to ask them about it. I say, hey, there's something coming up here in our relationship, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this topic. Right. So as a group, as a unit, which we'll get into next, we're looking at what's best for everyone. So we ask the partner their stance on it before we offer what we see as either wisdom or preferences, whatever it is, whatever we think is best. We just let them say their piece first. And then we may still want to say, well, have you considered XYZ? Because when I went through this thing and I did XYZ, it helped me. And they may just go, it's not for me, right? Like we have to sort of appreciate their sovereign free will to do or not do whatever they want, basically. Because any denial of their sovereignty denies our own as well. And so it's, again, about our peace, not necessarily theirs. When we push against their sovereignty, they'll push back. And we don't want to do that because now we're starting a conflict from a confrontation instead of an acceptance or curiosity, like Tassel was saying. We start with curiosity and acceptance of who they are and what they've brought. But notice, I still do think, despite them being sovereign and doing what they're doing, I do think that this could be better, right? So that's okay. But if we approach it with just that from the start, the other is going to feel pushed. So we're trying to just make it gentle with both our words and our thoughtfulness. We're considering them first. We work through how we feel about it, then we consider how they feel about it, then we talk about it after we've kind of done a lot of that work.
And I'll just give a super quick example because I know we're going pretty late, but super quick example. I had decided that I was going to start going swing dancing because I wanted to have some more fun. I didn't want to feel like I can only have fun when Sean is here. I wanted to just, okay, I'm a sovereign being. I can have fun on my own. And I went swing dancing one night, and Sean was supportive and also at the same time did say there was some discomfort around me dancing with other fellows, but he was very supportive and wanted to know what my experience was and how did I have fun, and actually was encouraging me to do it. And so it was really interesting because he didn't say, I really don't want you to go dancing with other men. He did not go there at all. He just let it unfold. And I think he went through some feelings on his own. And in the end, I came to the decision that it didn't feel quite right in our divine union for me to do that again. Just didn't feel like pure. But he gave me space for me to figure that out for myself, for me to remain sovereign in my decision about what was best for me and for him and our relationship. And I just thought he handled it so beautifully. And he went through a lot, I think. I don't want to speak for you, but I think it was uncomfortable and painful, but he didn't bring that so much to he shared some of it, but he didn't make it the focus. There was a lot of space there for me to figure out what felt highest and best for us in the end. And I just thought you handled that so masterfully.
Thank you. There was a lot that I went through on my own that was very icky, like thinking about me wanting to stop you. Like there was a lot of the urge to do that was there. Right. So, but I could feel that that's not right. I don't want to. And I said to you after, I'm like, I don't want to put you in a box and try to keep you where you don't you're free, go do as you wish. I mean, so it didn't feel right for me to make those types of attempts or to try and be like, do you think it's a good idea for you to do this? Or even, I really wanted to say, how would you feel if I did this? That's what I wanted to say. But I'm like, that's not fair. She's saying that she really wants to experience this experience. Just support her in it, despite your sort of hatred of it. Right. Just support her in this thing she wants to do, and just trust that it'll be fine. And that's what I tried to do. And, I didn't do it perfectly, but I think I did a pretty good job. I think, like she said, it just gives the other person space to do what they want. And a lot of times they'll see, they'll get it. And even if they don't, you've probably, through that acceptance and surrender of it, have moved beyond it. After she came back and said, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I said, well, if you want to, you can. I'm over it now. Right. It's been moved through. So, but now I don't really have any desire. She's noticed that it's not really something that she really wants to do that way. There are other ways that we can have fun alone that don't cause these types of feelings to come up. But there's also something to be said that, like, it would probably serve her a lot if I went and did it. Right. I have no interest, but if I did, it would be probably helpful for her to go through a similar experience and be like, I hate this, but well, I mean, it is what it is. Right. So
in the feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm very grateful that we went through it. It was very hard for me at the time. And it may seem simple. It's just my own experience in life that caused this. I had distorted, like, what dancing is. Dancing was like a sexual sort of mating call type procedure to me. So for me, it's totally out of whack with, like, what dancing is. So it's very unreasonable, really, of me to be so upset about it. But I was. So what are you going to do, right?
And I think that, like, the beautiful thing is the vulnerability and the honesty, and it was amazing how much you shared about it. And I think it brought us so much closer together, the whole experience.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We learned a lot there, both of us, on how to traverse something like that, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost done here. I know it's getting late. So one of the underlying themes here is to just approach everything together. And this is such a new learning for me. I've been in so many relationships, but I was always kind of like over here and the other person was over here. And, there was some coming together, but it was just quite individual. And so this has been a huge expansion for me. And one of the things that we landed on, and this was Sean's brainchild, was that any fear that comes up is a fear in the relationship, and it's our fear, and that we can move through it together. Before we kind of landed on that, I think sometimes maybe I would have fear come up, and maybe you might not want to sort of engage in it at all, or I know we don't want to validate it, or you might have fear come up and I might kind of go, like, sort of step away. And I think what we're saying here is we're leaning in to everything. And I'm not saying that we're validating the fear or anything, but that we're going to walk through it together. And just a quick example of this, a few days ago, I woke up and I had a lot of trouble seeing. My vision was very blurry. And I don't know if it was just a bit of an ascension symptom or something. I'm still not sure what happened. But I was in a lot of fear, and I was texting with Sean in my blurry vision, and he was so supportive. You said something like, "We will move through this together." And it was awesome. Just that we're together, we're a unit, and we make decisions together. This is also a big learning for me. I was so used to kind of being my own hero throughout my life, which is great. But I was just so used to always making decisions on my own. And it was like a new thing for me to just start to, like, talk more things out with each other in our business, our relationship. and make decisions together. This is all new for me. The hour, that pronoun, our. I had never really had an hour with anyone else before this.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think you said everything.
Okay. The very last thing that we had here was if you're not in a union at this point, maybe just a few little tips to help prepare yourself for union.
Yeah. So I would just say I probably have one solid tip. Basically, it's okay to have some of that vision and fantasy about what the union will be. And it's okay to get in sort of really excited about that. But your idea of what it's going to be is probably not what it's going to be. It's not going to show the way sort of you thought it would. There'll be a lot of aspects of it that are exactly as you dreamt. And then there will be aspects that are not quite what you would have thought. For example, they don't live near you, or they're always there to connect with you until they're not. They're gonna, or for us, there's an age difference, or there's some type of these barriers that are like, well, it's perfect, except, there was something there's a song by Leonard Cohen, Through the Cracks. That's how, or everything has cracks. That's how the light gets in. Everything is perfectly flawed in that way. And you are too, right? And so if you want to attract or be into this area, you have to reach a level of consciousness and acceptance of yourself for this to really even be possible at all, right? Like for this union to really happen and then start to progress, you need to be working on yourself already, sort of. You need to be already sort of self-improvement minded. And just by being here and listening to this, you're on that journey, basically. So we want to just take our attention away, think nice thoughts of the future, sure, but take our attention away of waiting for something. Waiting is sort of just not noticing the opportunity of time. Waiting is being impatient. Like, there's nothing to wait for. We just do our thing. And then when it's ready, it'll pop in. It can't come till we're ready. They're not going to be there until we're ready for it. So all we can do is try to get ready. And the way we do that is literally just by looking at ourselves and accepting ourselves as best we can, forgiving ourselves, forgiving other people that we feel hurt by, basically getting rid of as much distortion in ourselves as possible, as much shadow, healing it, not getting rid of it, but integrating it, healing it, uplifting it into the light. And as we do that, that's that alchemy that sometimes you'll hear people talk about. We're alchemizing fear or shadow into the light, which gives us a cleaner purity, so that when we have the opportunity to mirror to our partner, we're not mirroring too much chaos. Like, basically, if we didn't do this work first, it'll be more chaotic than it already could be. So if we don't have our partner, they're not there yet. It's the solution's kind of obvious, right? But for whatever reason, we don't realize we wait for the partner. We wait and we're like, well, I'll be able to start my life mission when my partner's here, or I'll do this when I'll feel better when my partner's here, whatever it is. And that's just, if we think about it, it's a little silly, right? Because why don't we just do something productive with ourselves in the meantime? And that's easy to say, harder to do when we're feeling a lot of lack and a lot of pain. So I'm not judging that, but I am saying that it is kind of like, we can see from sort of a logic place that this pain that we're in, that we're waiting and we're just waiting and waiting and waiting, it's not super useful. And if we step out of the waiting and start to look at ourselves and really just try to heal, once we're doing that, we can be pretty much guaranteed that all the amazing things that we feel are on the horizon will just come on in.
Beautiful. And I'll just quickly add my favorite statement: feel your feelings. I think if you just feel your feelings, it will just take you right there.